Hey everyone, welcome to the channel. Today we're talking about Transformers number 10 from Skybound, released on July 10th, 2024. And as you can tell from the cover, this is a totally chill issue with no major developments or catastrophes whatsoever. Yep, Transformers number 10 is really all about relaxing and soaking up the good vibes. Okay, yeah, that's not the case at all. This issue is wild. So without further ado, let's get into it. We already saw the flashback sequence with Beachcomber when Skybound dropped the preview for this issue not long after issue number 9 was released, but it's still worth bringing up because between this issue and Void Rivals number 10, we finally have a bit more of a conclusive answer to how long the Autobots and Decepticons were inactive on Earth, confirming that this series is drawing from the G1 tradition of the two factions being dormant for millions of years. They don't put a specific number on it like the G1 cartoon did, but we still have a better grasp than we did before. The opening sequence is a nice little showcase for Beachcomber and how he got to Earth, connecting this iteration of the character to his G1 cartoon self nicely, right down to some Golden Lagoon-esque nods in terms of his fascination with and appreciation of Earth's animal life. And right out of the gate, I'm interested in what Johnson is doing here with Beachcomber, as we've got an Autobot who hated violence and the war so much that after finding his deactivated comrades aboard the Ark, decided not to bring them back online, believing that his fellow Autobots would just find a way to restart the war and ruin the Earth that he's come to love so much. And this is the sort of tragic irony that I find really compelling and interesting. Even though it's not stated outright, in trying to prevent the war from starting again, Beachcomber actually may have made that outcome more likely and put the Earth in peril. I mean, think about it. Beachcomber was part of the war. He got chucked out of the Ark by the Decepticons. He knows the difference between the two sides. He could have simply reactivated the Autobots, and that faction theoretically could have prevented the Decepticons from being brought back online. But because he left them all offline, Jetfire, someone who didn't know any better, reactivated Starscream first, thus unintentionally restarting the war. Way to go, Beachcomber. I love this take on the character because his understandable and good intentions backfired in such a severe way. Despite being a pacifist who wants nothing to do with war, it seems pretty likely that Beachcomber is going to be dragged into the conflict if he wants to defend Earth, because Shockwave is going nuclear. Shockwave's big plan to save Cybertron is revealed in this issue, or at least significant chunks of it are revealed, and the plan borrows heavily from the G1 cartoon trilogy The Ultimate Doom, as well as the Bayverse film Dark of the Moon, in that Shockwave activates a massive space bridge to pull Cybertron itself through space and time to be in closer proximity to Earth. This is a matter of expediency, as simply farming Energon from the Earth and taking it to Cybertron would be far too slow a process, and Cybertron is teetering on the brink as it is, so Shockwave reasons that it would be best to bring the Cybertronian homeworld straight to the plentiful source of energy. As an aside, I think we must have caught up to the time jumps on the G.I. Joe side of things by now, because it would be pretty hard to miss a whole planet just hanging out totally visible in the sky. Really raises the question, what the hell is G.I. Joe doing during all this? Or Cobra Commander and Destro for that matter. Seems like it would be kind of hard to keep the Autobots and Decepticons a secret after this. Anyway, the method employed by the Decepticons to power up this massive space bridge was a bit of a shocker, though it also continues a tradition in this series of being a study in contrasts in terms of the Autobots and Decepticons. Earlier, we see Beachcomber reveling in the natural splendor of Earth, and interestingly enough, we see the Decepticons also taken back by a similar splendor, with Shockwave and Soundwave sharing a moment admiring the marine life outside of the Nemesis. But that sense of awe is a bit misleading, as it doesn't stop Shockwave from powering up his Cybertronian Thresher, sucking in the whales and other marine life and converting them into a source of energy. Good lord, it's so brutal and messed up. This whole scene has got some real Fight or Flee, Ultra Magnus, alright, give me the bomb kind of energy. And just think, those whales and manta rays fishes and sharks and stuff wouldn't have gotten pureed and turned into batteries if the Decepticons hadn't been reactivated. So, way to go, Beachcomber. But what I'm getting at is that we've got that contrast between the factions in this issue, where the Autobots see a natural beauty in Earth that's worth preserving and protecting. The Decepticons only see fuel for their empire. But as we've been gradually seeing, there's quite a bit of variety within the Decepticon faction in terms of how best to realize their survival of the fittest dogma that may lead to further conflict and strife within the Decepticon ranks in the future. For example, Shockwave does not realize how close he came to being on Soundwave's shit list by threatening to incinerate Ravage. And just ask the previous guy, you do not want to be on that list. But have you noticed that most of these Decepticons really don't seem to be pet lovers, do they? We also see that Soundwave's minions are called Recordicons here, which is too much of a coincidence to not be a reference to the fan comic by David Willis, right? Regardless, the groundwork continues to be laid for Thundercracker's disillusionment with his superiors, specifically Shockwave, as he feels that the torture of Jazz and Cliffjumper is dishonorable. Speaking of, it's nice to see the tradition of the Jazz Cliffjumper duo persist. I always enjoy seeing it whenever it crops up, though the circumstances could admittedly be a lot better. There are plenty of other cool moments peppered throughout this issue as well, including a nice dynamic that's taking shape between Elita 1 and Optimus Prime. I spoke with a few of you in the comments section for the previous video about the differences in their leadership style and how that might lead to the two characters butting heads, and we're already starting to get hints of that, with Elita 1 clearly harboring some resentment towards Optimus for leaving Cybertron to the Decepticons millions of years ago. Between that and Wheeljack being shaken by Ratchet's death, as well as Cliffjumper and Jazz being left behind, it seems like there could definitely be some trouble brewing in Optimus's camp. Combine that with the solicit blurb for issue 11 that prompts the question of whether or not all the Autobots will stand behind Optimus as he makes a push against the Decepticons, and I think there's a good chance that there's going to be some interpersonal drama and conflict among the Autobots in the future, and I, for one, can't wait to see how it's going to shake out. And issue 10 finally sees confirmation that this badly damaged bot is, as suspected, none other than Ultra Magnus. This isn't exactly a triumphant reunion amongst the Autobots, however, as RC is horrified to see Ultra Magnus in the state that he's in, Ultra Magnus is horrified to be seen in the state that he's in, and Wheeljack is horrified that Ratchet didn't make it back to get Magnus out of the state that he's in. Yay, Ultra Magnus is back, everybody. Party time. I continue to be completely floored by Jorge Corona's art in this issue. There's no denying that Johnson's art brought something unique to Transformers comics that can probably never be replicated, but Corona is such a good fit for this arc that I can't see anybody else doing it, and I really hope to see him continue on with Transformers into the future. From the moody and dramatic moments like Elita 1 talking to Optimus, to the absolutely unhinged derangement of the thing with the whales, or Onslaught almost comically laying with his legs crossed and his hands clasped while carrying on a one-sided conversation with Brawl's inert torso, Corona's work on this series has just been an absolute treasure. I mean, this panel alone, with Beachcombers surrounded by local wildlife, is so good. I want a poster of it hanging on my wall. Corona is doing a phenomenal job on his interiors for this series, and his work is a perfect complement to Johnson's scripts. All in all, issue 10, yeah, it's a bit of a banger. The interpersonal conflict and drama is building right alongside the high-stakes end-of-the-world drama, making for an extremely compelling and engaging story. The stakes are considerably higher in this second arc, and I'm expecting issue 12 to completely shake the Energon universe. I mean, how could it not, with the fate of Earth and Cybertron literally hanging in the balance? But that's all from me on Transformers number 10. What are your thoughts on this issue and how the second story arc is taking shape? Thank you for watching this. It's always appreciated. I hope you have a good rest of your day, and I'll see you next time. Goodbye.